Hello there. Welcome to my show, COVID-19 Update by Heerak for May 6th, 2020. As you know, I created this show to help you and your family survive COVID-19. And so I'm glad that you stopped by to see this show. I hope that you will see previous episodes of COVID-19 so that you can be caught up on all that you need to know about COVID-19. So far, everything I've said has come true, and renowned experts have revised their views based on this show. I'm sure these experts are watching my show because I am the Leonardo Da Vinci of the 21st century, and I use interdisciplinary knowledge from many different fields to provide insight and information and on COVID-19, and they are incredibly accurate in terms of prediction. And so just go back to previous episodes and you'll see what I mean. So a lot of politicians, a lot of medical experts, nursing experts, engineering experts, policymakers, community organizers, pastors, priests, theologians, literary experts, mathematics experts, social leaders are watching this show and following the advice that I'm giving them, which is a smart move because I am the Leonardo da Vinci of 21st century. So you came to the right show to see and understand what COVID-19 is. Today we celebrate School Nurses Day. Today, May 6th, is a School Nurses Day. And as you know, I am graduating from a master's degree from the School of Nursing and Health Studies at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. And that's where President Bill Clinton did his bachelor's degree. And President Donald Trump's daughter, Tiffany Trump, is a third-year law student at the Law School of Georgetown University. So she is actually class of 2020 like me, but she's in law school. I'm in the School of Nursing and Health Studies. I'm specializing in clinical nurse leader. That's the name of the program. So I will be an expert clinical nurse leader after my graduation in 2020 summer. Unfortunately, graduation ceremonies at Georgetown, as it is with all the universities in America, have been canceled. So that's very unfortunate. But COVID-19 has controlled our life in America in a way that no domestic or foreign power has ever done. So maybe we should call COVID-19 King of the United States of America, because COVID-19 is dictating everything we say and do. And that is very unfortunate because it's an invisible virus that is microscopic, but it is controlling our life right now and has been for the past couple months. And ergo, I've created this show to help you survive and mount the resistance against tyrannical king COVID-19. But anyway, we celebrate School Nurse Day today. I have tremendous respect for school nurses. I've shared with you that this semester, spring semester 2020, I did my public health nursing clinicals in Arlington County Public Health Department. And we worked with Arlington Public Schools. And my clinical nursing instructor is Professor Lorraine Spencer, who's actually an amazing professor. She taught us our lecture part for our nursing classes in the fall, along with Professor Erin Mon, who is nationally respected leader in the school nursing field. So I think she serves as an officer in school nursing National School Nurses Association or something like that. Professor Lorraine Spencer does more holistic public health nursing, and she's worked as a administrator or executive within um, Arlington County Public Health Department, kind of guiding the nurses. And she's, also served as school nurse at Wakefield High School, where I taught in summer school. And I shared about that in previous shows, which is like a mile from where I am. And so, I have a tremendous respect for school nurses. This semester, in the context of my public health nursing, we took on a project to help Arlington Public Schools and the nurses at Arlington Public Schools in terms of procedures and policies and activities. And so we worked with top leaders in Arlington Public Schools, nurses organization, which is actually within the Arlington County Public Health Department. So I work with my colleagues under the guidance of our amazing professor, Lorraine Spencer, who's just an incredible human being, and she's a great nurse and a great professor that all the students just admire and respect. Georgetown University is very lucky to have Professor Lorraine Spencer teaching public health nursing. So I feel really blessed that I've learned from her. I've had the opportunity to work with leaders in Arlington County Public Health Department. Uh, you know, you know, we worked with the top leaders and also top leaders in school nursing in Arlington. So, I have learned a lot from them as well. They're amazing individuals. And I just want to say hello to everyone in Arlington County Public Health Department. You know me because I worked in public health nursing clinical, and so you met me. So it's good to see you and say hello to you. And everybody in Arlington County Public Health Department are amazing. And I can't think of anybody better right now to handle the COVID-19 crisis in Arlington County. This is where I live. I live in Arlington. Then the leaders that I've met and worked with throughout the spring semester 2020. Professor Lorraine Spencer was telling me this week that they have reorganized public health nursing under emergency command center, because we have an emergency crisis right now in Arlington County because of COVID-19. And so they're utilizing the emergency command center, and all the school nurses are now co-opted into this emergency command center. So they're working as a team on this COVID-19 crisis. Public health department is combining all the forces, nurses, including school nurses who typically work at Arlington County Public Schools to combat COVID-19. So, I pay homage to you, all the school nurses, especially in Arlington public school system. I have worked with many of you, and I appreciate you showing me, friendship and being kind to me. And kindness is, kind is a theme of Arlington County Public Schools. So if you go to Arlington County Schools, you will have a kind of wall painting or poster of kind with KIND, but I is missing. So you can step in there and take a photo. And I have done that. Maybe I'll share that with you sometime. So I've worked with a lot of school nurses in Arlington County Public Schools during the spring semester 2020, because I went around different schools, elementary schools, middle schools, um, high schools, in the context of my working as a within the field of public health and under Professor Lorraine Spencer's guidance and expert supervision. And so, I appreciate having met all of you, and I'd like to say hello to all of you that I met. Thank you for being kind and sharing your experiences and work days with me. And I enjoyed working with you. And so, when I become the U.S. Congressman in Virginia's 8th District, that includes Arlington County and Alexandria Falls Church of Fairfax County, I would love to see if some of you may want to work in a task force or within the context of a U.S. Congress to upgrade school nursing, not only in Virginia's 8th District, but throughout the United States of America. So I'm looking forward to working with Professor Ann Mon and Professor Lauren Spencer, when I get elected as U.S. Congress and kind of working to upgrade our, school nursing and public health nursing for the 21st century, especially with COVID-19. Hopefully, we'll survive this. But if I become a U.S. Congressman in January 2021, being elected on November 3rd, 2020, beating Don Beyer, who's the current congressman, and I can start working on our fighting COVID-19 right now as a congressman. That's what I plan to do. I plan to ask for wisdom and guidance and cooperation of Professor Erin Mon and Professor Lorraine Spencer. And we're going to work on public health nursing and school health nursing, because there will be some schools that may open in the 50 states. So we can coordinate what COVID-19 response should look. And so I am preparing right now in that regard, in terms of planning, thinking about what we're supposed to do. And we spent the semester 2020 spring semester working in a team to help Arlington County public schools nurses, their procedural efficiency, to help them improve the system. So we worked on improving Arlington County public schools, school nursing at the system level. And so that's what we worked on, and we came up with a big project and a PowerPoint, and so and a report. And we were scheduled to present it to all the 100% of the school nurses in Arlington County Public Schools in April. And unfortunately, COVID-19 hit, and all the nurses were redirected into public health, and they're really busy now fighting COVID-19. So unfortunately, we want to do it physically with all of them present, obviously, but right now with COVID-19, and they're working with the Arlington County Public Health Command Center to fight COVID-19. Right now, unfortunately, we don't have the opportunity to present it to them, the research that we did and the suggestions for improving Arlington Public Schools, nursing at the school level, at the system level. But we have a lot of good ideas. And I'm going to be using some of those ideas that I have through our research and working with my teammates. Emily Norris and Senya Musa. Emily Norris is a graduate of UC Berkeley and worked at San Francisco Medical Center, UCSF Medical Center. And Senya Musa is a graduate of HBCU in Atlanta, Georgia. And she's amazing. She's brilliant. And both of them are very amazing and brilliant. So I learned so much from them. So I just want to thank you, Senya and Emily, for being my teammate on the, on our public health one semester long project. You know, I learned a lot from you, and we work really well as a team. So I was really happy to have both of you as my team members. And Professor Lauren Spencer was amazing, giving us guidance. And hopefully what we research will help Arlington County Public Schools and its nurses at the system level. So that's what we're hoping. And I'm going to be using this. And I'll give you credit, obviously, Emily and Senya. You know, when I become U.S. Congressman, I'll be using our work to build on improving school nursing systems throughout the United States of America, in every school district, in every state, every county, every city, every town. And so I have a grand vision for what that could look and what kind of policies that we need to kind of support at the US Congress level. So I'm going to talk to other congressmen, congresswomen about my ideas. And obviously, when I get elected in November 2020, beating Don Beyer, hopefully, you know, I'm going to start right away. What do we schools, public schools in Arlington, Alexandria, Falls Church, and Fairfax County, in New York public school system, Los Angeles public school system, Detroit public school system, Atlanta, Georgia public school system, what do we have to do, especially when the school districts open up with students actually coming in? What do we need to do to meet the challenge of COVID-19? So you need me to be elected as a congressman for Virginia's 8th district, because you need somebody who've done the latest research. My research is 2020 spring semester. So you need somebody who did the latest research to fight COVID-19. You know, Georgetown University trained us for 2 years to be clinical nurse leaders. That's what I will be in US Congress, providing expert guidance to all the congressmen to direct our tax money to be most efficient and meeting the needs of our children, some of whom will return to their public schools in school districts that decide to open up, either in the fall or in the spring. So you need me in US Congress. So I hope that everyone in Virginia's 8th district, Arlington, Alexandria, Falls Church, and parts of Fairfax County will vote for me on November 3rd, 2020. I shared with you a problem I'm facing. I'm trying to get on the ballot for November 3rd, 2020. But unfortunately, Governor Northam issued a stay-at-home order on March 30th, and he made it that extends until like June 10th, around that time. A day after I'm supposed to submit 1,000 petition signatures, which are required to be on the ballot. But unfortunately, I cannot go door to door and knock because there's a stay-at-home order. That'll be a violation of stay-at-home order. So I cannot get the 1,000 signatures. I have a campaign finance manager. I have several staff, and I have dozens of volunteers who would be happy to go and knock on doors and get the signatures. But there's a stay-at-home order that doesn't allow me to do that. And Governor Northam issued this order on March 30th, and it extends to like June 10th. And around that time, it's one day after the date by which I have to submit 1,000 signatures. So I wrote to Virginia Board of Elections saying that you have to waive this requirement because of Governor Ralph Northam's stay-at-home order. It's physically impossible to get the 1,000 signatures and submit it by the June deadline. Obviously, it's not that hard to do, but just physically we can't do it. So I hope that Governor Ralph Northam will do the right thing and grant this waiver of 1,000 signatures so that I can be on the ballot. I mean, deadline is still in June, but you know, the stay-at-home order is until June. I cannot go around and knocking with my volunteers, dozens of volunteers getting signatures because of the stay-at-home order. And in Virginia, COVID-19 cases are increasing and death rate is increasing. So by June, we may have thousands of Virginians dead by COVID-19 already. Unfortunately, I mean, I hope that doesn't happen, but we have to be realistic about this. Maryland is already past 1,000, and many states are past 2,000, and Virginia's headed to 1,000. I mean, we're over 600. So by June, this is early May, we may have more than 1,000, more than 2,000. Who knows, right? So, so Governor Ralph Northam needs to do the right thing and waive the requirement for 1,000 petition signatures that is due in June, because it's practically impossible to do that, and it's legally impossible. I cannot break the law and go knock on people's doors getting signature. I mean, I could technically be arrested for doing that, for violating the stay-at-home order. So it's not fair for Governor Northam not to waive my requirement. I wrote the letter like a month ago, like the day that Governor Northam issued the stay-at-home order on March 30th. I still haven't heard back from the Board of Elections or the governor's office. So, and I've called, left messages, the Virginia Board of Elections, and I requested a written reply to my letter. So I need to receive a written reply, but I haven't yet. So that's why I'm saying I get the feeling that Governor Northam and Virginia Board of Election is trying to discriminate against me and exclude me from this election process. And that's not only not fair, it's just very unfair. It's illegal because they seem to be targeting me for my beliefs or my ideas. As you saw in my show, I'm against abortion. I'm against gay marriage. I'm an evangelical Christian. I'm politically very conservative, so I stand with most of the political conservatives in the United States, most of the people in the Republican Party, in wanting to illegalize gay marriage and wanting to illegalize abortion. This is just my political position platform as an independent candidate for U.S. Congress, and it is my religious belief, and both of which are protected under the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. And in this show, which represents press, I have the freedom of the press to discuss these, and I practice my freedom of the press rights with my official Heerak for U.S. Congress Twitter account, which is protected by U.S. Congress First Amendment. And so even if liberals and liberal progressives hate conservatives, hate President Trump, hate anything that is conservative, they cannot attack the U.S. Constitution and my right to freedom of press and freedom of religion and freedom of political platform, right? This is the official platform. And those who vote for me will be voting for me standing against abortion, wanting to illegalize it by law, and my political platform standing against gay marriage, wanting to illegalize it by law. These are my political platforms at the official level, and no one can bully me for my political positions and my political platform. That would be violating the civil rights laws of the United States of America, because I have the right to my political affiliation, I have the right to my religion. And so, and obviously First Amendment rights protect me. So attacking me and trying to bully me for my political positions and religious position violates American law at many levels. You could go to prison for that, seriously. If you bully me for my political positions and religion positions, it is illegal to do so. So not only will you be fined, you can actually go to jail for doing that. So if there are anybody out there who want to bully me and attack me for my religious views or my political platform as a independent candidate for U.S. Congress, then just know that you're violating laws if you breach certain rights. Like if you get physical with me and hit me, that's an assault, right? I mean, that is a crime in and of itself. But you need to know that my freedom of speech is protected not only by U.S. Constitution, the First Amendment, but by a separate law, separate department of U.S. federal government, which is the Civil Rights Law, right? Department of Civil Rights protects my right to my beliefs, religion, and my political platform. So you need to know United States laws, and you have to know what rights American citizens have under the laws of the United States of America and the Constitution of the United States of America. So I am protected, and any of you who violates my right, you probably have a hard time finding a job in the federal government because you will most likely be blacklisted by federal government agencies, whether it's FBI, CIA, Homeland Security, NSA, Pentagon, Army Intelligence, because there's a concrete proof that you violated civil rights laws that protect my right to my belief system and my political platform that I'm free to expound on my Twitter account and in this show, COVID-19 Update by Heerak. So those of you who want to go on record violating my rights, you will probably not find a job in the federal government, and many of the companies will blacklist you as well. So who wants to hire someone who doesn't respect other people's rights, right? Protected under the U.S. Constitution. So, don't risk your future and your whole life and get blacklisted by every company, private, as well as federal government agencies and military organizations. I mean, you think U.S. Army is going to hire you for their top positions? If you threaten a official candidate for U.S. Congress for Virginia's 8th District, I'm official. I'm registered with Federal Election Commission as an official candidate for U.S. Congress. I'm an official candidate for U.S. Congress. I have been since last year. So any attacks that you mount against me, has to be seen under that light. So I just want to give you a warning for those of you liberal progressive terrorists out there who want to do me harm or bully me. I have received a lot of hostility from liberal progressives who don't respect people's right to freedom of speech and freedom of religion and freedom of political platform, and it's very disturbing. No amount of name calling is going to legitimize you, because American citizens have freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of religion. I mean, you can use all the name calling you want. You don't have the right to what you're doing. If you violate my First Amendment right, then you are committing a crime. And so I just want to give you fair warning for those of you who, think that you're God, and you use all kind of bullying tactics, bullying words, threatening persecution strategies to try to bully me against my own belief and religion and my political affiliation, my political positions. I'm giving you a warning because it's illegal. Yeah, and also, you live in the United States, you gotta respect the First Amendment rights, right? And so, yeah, you should respect it. You could visit my official Canada website, heerakforcongress.com, and see the interviews that I had with several media. And obviously, they are entitled to their freedom of speech as well. So you can learn about more of my positions. Yeah, so vote for me on November 3rd, 2020, because I will protect your right to freedom of speech, okay? Whether people are offended by your views, you have the right to alter your views, right? Yeah, so, if you want to fly a Confederate flag at your home and your own property, I have no problem with that. You have the right to your freedom of expression, freedom of belief. It's your private property, and within your private property, you can fly whatever you want. And so, yeah, you have that right, and I'll protect your right to fly a Confederate flag in your backyard, in your property. I mean, you have the right. So, yeah, so for me, freedom of, religion, freedom of ideas, freedom of expression, freedom of press, these are very important freedoms. So the First Amendment rights for me is very important. And I'm going to fight for your rights because somebody is offended by your views, but you have the right to those views. You're not a criminal because you're flying a Confederate flag. If you want to fly a Black Lives Matter flag in your backyard, oh, be my guest. You know, Black nationalism, white nationalism, Asian nationalism, Native American nationalism. You have the right to do whatever you want in your own property. You have the right to freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and your private property. You can do what you want. It's your property. Yeah, so I'm going to protect your rights. So this is why you should vote for him, because Don Barr is not going to protect your rights. Don Barr is going to make you feel like a criminal just because you value your culture or heritage that offends somebody. That's not me. I'm going to protect your identity, your heritage, your culture, your right to embrace your own identity, your right to embrace your nationalism, whether it's Black nationalism like Black Panthers or white nationalism. I'm going to protect your right to embrace whatever identity you want. You have that right as an American. So you should vote for him because Don Barr is not going to protect your right to embrace your Black nationalism or your white nationalism, right? He's against that. I believe Blacks have the right to embrace Black Lives Matter movement or Black Panther movement or any other Black national movements that may be out there. I'll protect your right. I'm going to protect your right to embrace whatever white nationalism identities you want to embrace, right? So you're entitled to your freedom of religion, freedom of association, freedom of ideas, and I will protect you. And I firmly believe it is by protecting everybody's individual freedoms that we will have a peaceful, harmonious society. You know, we're not a communist dictatorship like China and Russia. When people start trying to throw you in jail for flying a Confederate flag or Black Lives Matter sign, you know, how is that going to make people happy to be who they are? Because you are who you are, and you want to be part of your identity, your nationalism, whatever that is, whether it's Black nationalism, white nationalism, Asian nationalism. But we are all Americans because we have the right to embrace our own identities, our own organizations and cultural values, and that's what makes us multicultural society. We in Arlington, Alexandria Falls Church, Fairfax County, there are over 100 nations represented. They all have different national identities. We know India and Pakistan are enemies, but there are Indians and Pakistanis in these areas. If you embrace Indian nationalism, fine. Like, you know, current Indian government is an Indian nationalist government, BJP. If you want to embrace Indian nationalism, embrace the current nationalist government of BJP, you have the right to do that. I will fight for you I will fight to protect your right to embrace your Indian nationalism. You know, Musharraf is president in Pakistan. If you want to embrace Pakistani national identity that stands directly opposed to Indian national identity, I will fight for your right to embrace your Pakistani nationalism. Indians in Arlington, Alexandria Falls Church of Fairfax County have the right to associate themselves with the current president of India and their nationalist party. And Pakistanis in Arlington, Alexandria Falls Church of Fairfax County have the right to associate with President Musharraf in Pakistan, and it's his nationalist agendas, right? I mean, India and Pakistan are enemies, but you have the right to embrace your own culture in a multicultural society. So I defend multiculturalism, and I'm going to fight for the right of all the ethnic groups in Arlington's 8th District to embrace whatever nationalism they want. That's what makes us America. We're a multicultural society, right? And Don Barr just wants to make Virginia's 8th District just like a white liberal community. He wants all the Indians from India, Indian immigrants to be like white like him. He wants all the Pakistanis to be white like him. You know, Don Barr and the Democrats, they want me, Korean American, evangelical Christian, to be like him. They want to create a society where everything is homogeneous, like this white progressive liberal society. That's the society they want to create. And they want to pass laws to prevent people from practicing their own group identity or their own nationalism because it's offensive. Because what do they mean by offensive? It doesn't fit the white, progressive, liberal homogeneity that they want from all of us. They want us to become slaves to their white, liberal progressivism. And I fight that because that is so anti-American to try to force everybody to conform to white, liberal progressivism. I call that the new racism, new white racism of 21st century, where all these white liberal Democrats like Pelosi, Adam Schiff, Don Byron, Virginia's 8th District, Virginia Governor Ralph Northam, they're trying to create a white, liberal, progressive society that is homogeneous, where all the races and ethnic groups have to become slaves to conform to. I object to that. And you should too. Even if you're white, you should not want to become slave masters of us, of people of color who have the right to their own cultural identity and their own religious identity, their own nationalism, right? Because we have over 100 nations represented in Virginia's 8th District, in Arlington. And why should they have to give up their identities for white progressive liberalism so that you could enjoy homogenized white liberal progressive reality and white liberal progressive culture? No, that is what I would call a type of cultural annihilation, cultural genocide. And I object to the cultural genocidal tendencies and activities of Nancy Pelosi, the Democrat, Adam Schiff, the Democrat, Don Beyer, the Democrat, Ralph Northam, the Democrat. You don't have the right to culturally genocide 100 different cultures in Arlington, Alexandria Falls Church, and Fairfax County to make it conform to your white liberal progressivism. What else is more epitomizing of cultural genocide than white liberal progressive agenda to homogenize all the culture to fit its agenda, right? So I hope that you will support me in making America not only great again, but making America the best that it can be as a multicultural society. So I embrace multiculturalism. Don Beyer as a white liberal progressive who doesn't want to see certain cultures, traditional cultural societies practicing their value system. Don Beyer doesn't want to see a multicultural society. He wants everybody to be like him. That's where we differ. And so vote for me for Virginia's 8th District on November 3rd and call up Virginia's Governor Northam, who's dedicated to a homogenized liberal, white, progressive identity for Virginia that denies ethnic identity, cultural identity, traditional identity, Confederate identity, Black nationalist identity of individuals who want to practice their own identity, right? And that's probably why he's trying to block me from being on the ballot on November 3rd, 2020. It's very dirty. This is what I call dirty politics by Democrats. This is dirty politics. I'm an official candidate for U.S. Congress, right? I'm recognized as an official candidate at the federal government level, at the national level, by Federal Election Commission, right? And Virginia Board of Election is ignoring all my letters. They're not sending me a written reply to my request. They're not respecting me because I'm an immigrant, an Asian immigrant, and I don't fit the picture that Don Beyer fits of being a congressman. I believe I could do a better job, and I know you do too. So vote for me, and call up Virginia Board of Elections on my behalf, and call up Governor Northam on my behalf. Protest this because it's not right what these white liberal progressive Democrats are doing, trying to put me out of the ballot box. This is not right. I mean, the deadline is in June still, but I mean, I sent a letter on March 30th and they haven't written back. I requested a written reply. They haven't written back. Right? I mean, this is a serious problem. So, yeah, so I hope that, you will fight for what is right. You will fight for the multicultural society that I'm trying to create here. and that you'll fight for me. I will fight for you. I'll fight for your children. Um, what I have feared has happened. We had about 1,000 deaths for a few days, like 1,000 deaths during 24-hour period for a few days. And I said then, when that was happening, I said, I'm not going to get excited and too optimistic because I got optimistic before when we had a dip in the death figures. And then it just popped back up again, like from 1,000 levels to like 3,000. So I said, I'm not going to get excited. And I encourage you not to get too excited either because I don't want to get your hopes up unfairly, right? Because you have limited amount of emotional resources. If I keep giving you optimism and then your optimism is dashed, then you're going to run out of your emotional bandwidth. And I care about you as an emotional being, and I care about your mental health. So I'm not going to give you too much. I'm not going to give you false hope, where you get your help up and then it gets dashed. I'm not going to put you through an emotional roller coaster ride like that. So I'm going to give you the reality as it is. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to give you fake news. I'm going to give you the news and factual account as it is. You are all adults, right? Watching this show, you have the right to know what is going on. Transparency is important. I know Democrats are not really into transparency. We saw what Hillary did, and that's why she lost the election, because she didn't have any transparency. She did all these underhanded, crooked things, right? That a lot of Democrats do. And she was caught, and so she lost her election, Um, and everybody thought she was going to win, and all the, pollsters said she was going to win by a landslide, but she lost because people don't like crooked people, right? People hate crooked politicians. And so when they saw how crooked Hillary Clinton was, even people who liked her voted against her. That's why Donald Trump won. Or they didn't vote at all. Because people don't like crooked politicians. Doesn't matter what party you're in. Yeah, I'm an honest guy. This is why you need me, for me to come and fix up the corrupt political scene, right? Yeah, Virginia's politics has become very corrupt among the Democrats, as you see. And that's unfortunate. Even if you're a Democrat, you should be concerned about this, right? All these dirty tricks by Democrats, it should worry you, because you want a government that is fair, transparent, open, right? It treats people with respect. That's the government you want. And that's why you will vote for me on November 3rd, 2020 against Don Beyer, because Don Beyer's party in Virginia is crooked. And it's becoming more and more corrupt every day. And you see it. Unfortunately, we had 2,185 deaths in the last 24-hour period. So yesterday, we had total number of deaths at 71,022. And today, the death toll went up by 2,185 to 73,207 deaths. Confirmed cases remain constant, going up between 20 to 30,000. And so yesterday we had 1,203,502, and it went up to 1,228,177. I figure we need to look at the COVID death in America, because as you know, I'm predicting that 1 million American citizens or more will die by August 2020. See, I don't lie to you. I don't lie. I just tell you the facts. I look at what's going on. I tell you the facts. So that you're not going to be shocked when there are 1 million plus people dying, more than 1 million people dying by August. You're not going to be shocked because I've warned you. See, this is how I guard your mental health. If people say only 50 people are going to die, I mean, we're already past that mark. Right? How many times do you have to be traumatized in a given year? Do you see what I'm saying? I'm not going to traumatize you. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen in August right now, so you mentally prepare. This is why I am different from CNN, Fox News, BBC News, Sky News, PBS News, ABC News, NBC News, KBS Korea News, Deutsche Welle in Germany, France 24, Italian TV, Spanish news, because I give you the facts in realistic terms with the expertise, multiple expertise that I have as a Leonardo Da Vinci of 21st century. So if you're a journalist or a broadcaster or a media personality, you need to watch my show every day. You need to know what kind of things you need to discuss. I am the Leonardo da Vinci of 21st century. I have ideas that you cannot even begin to think about because you haven't have the grace of God to receive the training that I have and have the experiences that I have. And I did hard work, dedicating myself to hours in the library. Some days I spent 15 hours reading book after book in French, German, Hebrew, English, on multiple languages by top thinkers to come up with historical theories. And I'm not going to use all that knowledge to help you. And so if you're a journalist, you need to watch this show every day to get some ideas for stories and also perspective, because you're not going to get the perspective that I give here on this show from any other news, right? And I'm sure President Trump watches this show every day religiously, and many senators and many congressmen. And they should, because this is the show that's going to give you the ideas that could save America. So far, all the experts have revised their positions based on this show. Not just because the reality is conforming to what I predicted. So they have no choice but to confirm their original predictions based on my show and the reality that's matching my show. So you should watch this show because so far I'm like 100 for 100. I've been accurate. So yeah. So I'm confident that there will be 1 million plus Americans killed by August. I'm not saying I like that. I don't like it, but I'm confident that that will happen based on what's going on now. New York death is number one, 25,346. Look at that. New York alone is like a death toll of a European nation. And you think New York's going to be alone? Look at New Jersey. It's 8,549. It's going to soon go past 10,000, and it's going to soon pass 20,000. Massachusetts, hey, look at that, 4,420 at third place. It's going to soon pass 10,000. It's going to soon pass 20,000. Do you see the math? Do you see why I'm saying that there will be 1 million deaths by August 2020? Pennsylvania, look at that. It's already at 3,345 deaths. It's going to pass 10,000. It's going to soon pass 20,000. You can almost guarantee that they're going to all pass 20,000 by August. Look at the pattern. This is only beginning of May. We have May, June, July, August, 4 months. You don't think they'll all pass 20,000 by then? New York probably will pass 100,000 by then. I mean, why do you doubt this mathematically? I mean, mathematically, this is feasible because there's an exponential growth. If you do mathematics calculation, there's no reason to doubt that we're going to have more than 1 million deaths by August. Mathematically, it's just possible. Yeah, maybe you should listen to the advice of Harry and read some books on exponential growth. How do you think 50 million people died in pandemic of 1918 in 2 years? 2 years. 50 million people died in the world. These things happen in history. It happened in 1918. Why do you think it won't happen in 2020, 2021, 2022? What proof do you have to say that pandemic is not going to follow its natural pattern and kill 50 to 300 million people or more? Because now we have more population than we did in 1918. 50 million in 1918 is, in terms of percentages, equal to over 300 million people now, right? So at that time, 50 million might have died, but now if we have the same percentage of people in the world dying, we may have 300, 500 million people dying. Why do you doubt that? That is possible. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's a pandemic. You know, Black Plague killed 1/3 of the world population, 1/3. So if we have 6 billion people, 2 billion people can theoretically die from a plague. These things happen. I mean, I'm talking about science here. You may not believe in science, and I know some of you don't believe in science and law of nature, but science often proves correct, right? In terms of how many people die. Well, in America, unfortunately, a lot of scientists have been wrong because they're like, oh, it's going to come in a cycle and it's going to fizzle out, and not many people are going to die, and we can open up again in May. Some scientists were saying that, and they were absolutely wrong, right? I mean, because the death toll is increasing, it's not decreasing, and this doesn't seem seasonal like a lot of the scientists were saying. But science actually isn't wrong. It's that the scientists interpreted the event wrong. So there are laws of science. They just use the different laws. That shows that they're inferior scientists, right? Because good scientists will use the laws of nature accurately, the correct law, to study the current situation. It's kind of like all the political science professor predicted that Hillary will win, that Donald Trump won. Every single political scientist were wrong, and I said all of them are incompetent. Every one of you, Harvard political scientists, Yale political scientists, Stanford political scientists, you're all wrong, which means you're all incompetent, right? I don't trust the field of political science anymore after President Trump winning against 100% of the predictions by political scientists, professors in 2016. It proves that either the experts are inferior or the field of study has to be amended because it's inaccurate. I mean, if your academic discipline cannot accurately predict what it's supposed to predict, you have to throw it out. It's useless as a discipline. So I do have no trust on political scientists in the United States right now. I don't take their word at face value at all after all of them predicted that Trump would lose and Trump won, right? How can everybody be wrong? The field itself is problematic. That's what it means. Yeah, my predictions are coming true, right? Because I use different fields, field of education, field of nursing, field of healthcare studies, public health, field of science, physics, mathematics, literature, linguistics, Jewish history, historiography, different fields, theology, social sciences, and I use my methodologies accurately. That's why my predictions are accurate, right? I mean, there are laws of nature out there. You could choose the ones that you need to choose for this particular situation to solve the problem. And a lot of American scientists are coming short on that. So science actually isn't wrong on this point, just as American scientists have been wrong. Let's be honest here. These American scientists need like a professional development course from me. I'm not a scientist, but my predictions have been correct, right? Because I use the multidisciplinary approach. So one of the things that I like to do is, in the future, after serving many years as a U.S. congressman, go back to University of Pennsylvania, where I did my bachelor's, and become a professor of nursing, professor of Jewish history, and professor of education, professor of math, and just kind of use interdisciplinary approach. And I guess now I may consider doing professor of public health, to the interdisciplinary approach to solve the world's problem. Because what good is a university if you cannot solve the daily problems of the world? What's the point? What's the point of having a university? Just to brag about where you go to school? No, universities are supposed to solve the problems of the world. I mean, how many universities are solving the problem of COVID-19 right now? I mean, what's the point of having these universities that cannot even solve the problem when the problem happens? I mean, we have Department of Public Health in every university, top school, What are they doing to help us solve this problem? What's the point of their existence? I mean, at least Harvard School of Public Health warned us that this COVID-19 is going to last for 2 years until 2020, right? And that we need to social distance until 2020. So Harvard is actually pulling its weight. But what has University of Pennsylvania School of Public Health done? I've heard nothing from University of Pennsylvania School of Public Health. I'm a little embarrassed as an alumnus of University of Pennsylvania, with Pennsylvania death toll rising at a phenomenal rate, for University of Pennsylvania School of Public Health to say nothing that is useful to help Pennsylvania or to the United States of America. You should be ashamed of yourselves, professors at University of Pennsylvania School of Public Health. What's the point of having you as professors if you can't help us during our crisis? Don't you agree with me? Voters in Virginia's 8th District, voters in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania, this is why you should vote out your Pennsylvania's Democratic Governor Wolf. Democrats are crooked. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what you're doing. Pennsylvania's, look at this. Pennsylvania is headed to 20,000 deaths in several months. That those keep riding an exponential rate because Democratic governor of Pennsylvania doesn't know what he's doing. Now, how many of them have Republican governors? New York has a Democratic governor. New Jersey has a Democratic governor. Massachusetts has Democratic governor. Michigan has a Democratic governor. Pennsylvania has a Democratic. I mean, the proof is in the numbers. I mean, for God's sake, we have 50 states, and every one of those 50 states have a governor, and a governor decides what policies to use to prevent COVID-19 spread and to prevent COVID-19 death. How is it that all 5 top states for top total death from COVID are Democratic governors? Haven't I been saying all along Democrats don't know what they're doing? This is the proof. Not a single Republican governor in the top 5, because Republican governors seem to know what they're doing. Geez, and you want to vote Democrat for 2020? Are you kidding me? Do you want to live? This COVID-19 is going to go on to 2021, 2022, like Harvard School of Public Health experts are saying. So whoever becomes your congressman in 2020 election is going to serve the full 2 years that he's going to serve. There's going to be COVID-19. That's why you got to vote for me on November 3rd, 2020, and not Don Byer. Because you need me for the next 2 years when there's COVID killing millions of Americans in the next 2 years. That's most likely the possibility. I mean, yeah, there are 110 vaccines being created, but did you know that hepatitis C virus doesn't even have a vaccine? And people have been researching to develop vaccine for hepatitis C for past 30, 40 years. No vaccine after 30 years of research by world's best experts trying to develop this vaccine because hepatitis C kills people. They couldn't develop a vaccine. It's an RNA virus, just like COVID-19. We may not have a COVID-19 vaccine for next 30 years. You think hepatitis C vaccine experts are like inferior experts? No, they're the same experts trying to develop COVID-19, but they actually spent 20, 30 years developing it, and they failed. We're not talking about 100 tries, we're talking about thousands of tries. Each and every one of those experts, Nobel Prize winners. So the probability, mathematical probability that vaccine will be developed for COVID-19 is like less than 1%. You should not put your hope up in getting a vaccine because most likely it's not going to happen. If it happens, great. Praise God. But I'm saying don't get your hopes up, because you get your hope up, your hope is going to be dashed. For the next 2 years, right, there probably will not be a vaccine. Perhaps 30 years. You think rushing vaccine is a good idea? You know how people can die from side effects? Yeah. So let's go to the next item, and that's job market in USA in 2020. I'm class of 2020. President Trump's daughter, Tiffany Trump, is class of 2020. Obviously, a lot of law firms are shutting down. I don't know if she's going to find a job with a law firm. Although I've heard she's brilliant. How many law graduates are going to get a job? law firm. They're all closed. So every JD class of 2020 from Harvard Law School, Yale Law School, Stanford Law School, University of Pennsylvania Law School, UCLA Law School, Georgetown Law School, George Washington Law School, you guys are out of luck because you probably won't find a job. You can't even take the bar exam. And you're not going to be able to take the bar exam for foreseeable future, maybe not for a year or for 2 years. You're not going to have a job at a law firm or working as a lawyer for the next 2 years. They have enough lawyers. They don't need you, first of all. And even if they needed you, there's high competition because practically every university has a law school. So if you just graduate from JD 2020, or you're graduating this month or next month, kiss your law career goodbye. Because you're not going to have, unless you go and work as a clerk for a judge, I recommend you do that because their judge is still working. Or you work for the FBI, you could still join the FBI. I suggest you do that. Or CIA or Homeland Security, they need lawyers. Or Department of Labor, or Department of Agriculture, they all need lawyers. Unless you apply for these government jobs that are open, you're not. But they may not be hiring anybody because COVID-19. But your legal career is basically over right now. Let's face the fact. You need to find something else, and you're not going to find a job in New York because over 20,000 people are going to die by August. Probably going to have over 1 million people die. As maybe. I'm certainly over 100,000 people die. But it's possible 1 million people could die. My prediction is for the whole country, we're going to have 1 million people die. But if New York death pick up, and you know how many counties there are in New York? If death starts spreading in every county in New York, you could theoretically have 1 million New Yorkers die or more. That's a bad case scenario, but that could happen. I'm not going to say it's worst case scenario. Worst case scenario is like 10 million people dying by August in New York, which is theoretically possible. But a bad case scenario that could happen. And so, so if you are graduating with JD degree, you basically have to kiss your law degree goodbye. Same with MBA, right? The first article, how COVID-19 is crashing on the class of 2020, job offers already disappearing. That's for MBA students from Forbes. Harvard MBA, Wharton MBA, UCLA MBA, Georgetown MBA. You got to kiss your future goodbye as a manager. Nobody's going to hire you as a manager. They have managers, they're not, their company is shrinking. In the next year, Google, Samsung, Microsoft, they will all have to fire thousands of employees, including Harvard MBAs. So if you guys are Harvard MBAs who still have job at Google, I'll start saving money because you're going to be fired in the next, or laid off in the next few months. Because they're not making any money. They can't keep paying everybody, right? So you Harvard MBAs who got hired last year, you're lucky, but you better start saving money because you're probably going to be fired within a few months. So see what kind of practical advice I give you that's going to help you and your family. If you graduate from Georgetown MBA last year, got hired, getting paid $300,000 a year as a manager, you better hoard that cash because you're probably going to be fired in a few months. And nobody's going to hire you. So I'm giving practical advice to everybody in Virginia's 8th District because many of you are going to be fired too, right? Let's be honest here. And those of you in Virginia's 8th District who own companies, the company is going to go bankrupt next few months or a year. You're not getting any customers. How are you going to, company going to stay afloat? Whether it's a real estate company or consulting firm, you're going to go bankrupt, most likely. So I would, kind of prepare for that. And this COVID-19 can last minimum 2 years, but it could last, longer than that. And so you need to kind of account for all this. You have to prepare. Let's be realistic here. I know like CBS, NBC, Fox News are selling you all this false hope. PBS, BBC, Sky News, they're selling you false hope. How is that going to help you and your family? I mean, let's say what I'm telling you doesn't happen. Great. That's the greatest thing that could happen. But most likely what I'm telling you will happen. Don't you want to know the possibilities? Don't you want to know what your options are so you can prepare? Do you want to live on false hope with CNN that everything's going to go away and then wake up to reality with nothing? Yeah, this is why my show is important. You need to watch this every day. Second article, class of 2020 could struggle to find work as jobs are vaporized. This was in the beginning of April. Actually, April 2nd is when I started my show. A lot has happened in 1 month. You could watch my a 1 month anniversary show on May 2nd. Yeah, right now there are no jobs, no jobs. So if you're a college graduate, move back home to your parents. When the lease is up, move back to your parents. You gotta look at another possibility because this is not gonna end. It's not gonna end. This is a virus. I mean, you cannot reason with a virus. This virus is gonna continue forever. You could be hepatitis C virus that, we've been active for the last 30 years, so we're just going to give up. No, they're still active. They're still infecting people. There is no vaccine for hepatitis C. People who use drugs to heroin in America, they get hepatitis C and they die from liver disease. This is happening every year. People get hepatitis C every year because there's no vaccine. If you're doing heroin, you're sharing drugs, you could get hepatitis C and die. There's no vaccine. There is no vaccine, and hepatitis C been around for years and years, decades, no vaccine. So why do you suppose that we're going to have vaccine for COVID-19? They say COVID-19 virus is more complicated than hepatitis virus. Logically, you think we're going to have a vaccine? Yeah, I'm not going to give you false hope. If we get a vaccine, great. We should work hard to get a vaccine, but don't expect it. The chances of getting a vaccine is probably 1 in a billion. Yeah, there's more chances that you're going to win lottery and become a millionaire than we get a vaccine. Yeah. Third one, article. It's not going very well. Class of 2020 searches for a job amid a pandemic that has crippled the economy. It's not going well. Your father's losing his job. Your mother's losing his job, where they were hotshot managers for past 10 years or more. Companies where they worked for past 20 years. They're fired from these jobs right now. Or about to get fired in the next few months. I mean, geez, they won't have a job. How are you going to have a job? You can work in your local Walmart. That job's open. You could drive a bus for your public transportation. They have jobs open. But there are construction jobs opening. You could apply for these construction physical manual jobs. Those jobs are going to be open. But like desk job, don't count on it. Desk job, because these desk jobs are generally unnecessary. They're probably not going to open. I mean, another option that you could do is start your own internet company, like selling stuff online store. That's a possibility. Excuse me, but yeah, but there are not going to be any jobs. Yeah, this flu. It's allergy season, but yeah. So you're not going to have any jobs, and this is not just going to be this year, 2020. Most likely, it's going to be 2021 and 2022. So brace yourself. Start something on your own. Get a job doing something on the internet if there's opening. I heard that Amazon is hiring and they have some jobs they could do on the internet. You probably will have to go and become a driver for UPS, but all those jobs are taken. So, but if some people get COVID and die, jobs will open up. So those jobs you could go and get. So high risk jobs where you could possibly get COVID and die, you'll get. I mean, think about it. There's going to be like 1 million or more Americans dead by August. So some of the jobs in the industry, which are kind of highly risky, will open up. So they'll need people to work. Like, for example, President Trump correctly signed executive order for meat producing companies, which we need because without food, Americans are going to die. Now, unfortunately, a lot of people are getting COVID and some are dying, and that will keep happening. Workers in meat factories will keep dying, but we still need to have these meat factories for people to live. It's like a war. You're going to send out soldiers to fight a war knowing that they're going to die, and they're going to die. That's why we call them essential workers. So yes, meat packers are going to die. Hopefully they could have PPEs and protection, but even with protection, COVID-19 is a little virus. They penetrate protections and they kill people. I mean, there are nurses with all these PPE protections that are dying every day. So meat packers will die too. So these jobs will have to keep being filled. Obviously, you should be careful and wear a mask and don't talk to anybody at work, right? Just keep to yourself, do your work, so keep your social distance of 6 feet. And if you are careful, you may not get COVID and you may not die. But if you start talking to people through your mask, I mean, every time you talk, the mask may kind of go up because you're talking, and then COVID can go in. Yeah, through the opening of the mask, and you could get it and die. So yeah, but so next 2 years, it's going to look bad unless God miraculously gives us a gift of a virus, a vaccine, which it's highly doubtful. I watched my yesterday's episode to see why. God probably will not be helping us out. Yeah, that's unfortunate. But I mean, we could please God if we do what God wants. Follow Romans 1. God may give us what we want, right? Keep Romans 1 as a nation, as a city, as a state, as a community. Pass laws to support Romans 1. Yeah, maybe God will give you what you want. But unless you give God what he wants, he's not going to give you what you want. Watch yesterday's episode. I talk more about it. So I hate to give you this dose of reality, but you need it because you're graduating. Georgetown University students are graduating, and they're thousands. You have to face the reality. COVID is here for the next few years. Some markets are opening up, but some are not. And even those markets that are opening up, in few months, you're going to have a lot of deaths. And all the medical experts are saying we're going to have a second wave that's deadlier. Looking at models of pandemics throughout human history, they generally kill millions of people. So you got to predict that this will do that too. I mean, for you to presume that COVID-19 will not kill millions of people when it's a pandemic is to be irrational. Because scientifically, pandemics kill millions of people. And that's been doing that for centuries, for millennia of human life. It's always done this. So why are you saying that COVID-19 is not going to do this? I mean, that's irrational. That's not scientific. As college graduates, from Georgetown, from Harvard, Yale, University of Pennsylvania, Brown, Cornell, Columbia, Stanford, UCLA, and you see those spirit cheerers. Yeah, what we need right now is not spirit cheerers, but people give you reality, and that's what I'm doing, right? Spirit cheering is good when you have chance of winning, or chance of, yeah, but we don't really have any chance of winning against COVID right now. So spirit cheering is not what we need right now. We need to be realistic, hunker down. We have to strengthen our defense systems. We have to strategize coherently and systematically and realistically so that America's families survive COVID-19. You're not going to survive COVID-19 thinking, oh yeah, I have a Wharton MBA, so I'm going to be an executive in New York, big shot New York corporation. You're not going to survive that way. No. If you get a job as a construction worker, you have a better chance of surviving this. Yeah, you have an MBA, but so what? Evolution is about survival of the fittest. I mean, your MBA degree is not going to save you. in COVID-19 era, your physical ability to work is going to save you, either as a bus driver, as a grocery market worker, as a plumber, as an auto mechanic, or as an engineer that fixes stuff, fixes roads, a soldier who is in the army. You know, if you're a high school graduate, you should enlist in the military because that's open. Yeah, I mean, if you're not going to adapt to the changing ecosystem environment, you're going to go extinct. That's the fundamental rule of evolution. Adaptation, survival of the fittest. If you don't adapt to the new environment, you're going to die. You're going to go extinct. So who cares if you spend 2 years doing a Wharton MBA? You know, it's useless right now, and probably for the foreseeable future. So yeah, you could just kind of sit at your home getting fat, hoping for this to go away, which it won't, most likely. Or you could modify your plans and adapt to COVID-19 environment and survive because you have family to feed, right? Maybe if you're fit, maybe you should apply for a job as a construction worker before someone else get it. And, you know, if things change and there's a job opening up, you can always post up online. You know, if the situations change, you get the job, but most likely it won't. We're looking at the US economy shrinking by 10, 20, 30, 40, maybe even 50%. And as I've shared in previous shows, United States of America may become a third world nation at the end of COVID. Because US has deaths. Our allies have death in European Union. China doesn't have death anymore. Korea doesn't have any death. Japan doesn't have deaths. So Asian countries are going to become wealthier and more powerful, not just politically and just economically, but militarily. They're going to dominate the world in the next 2 years. Right? Anything short of US starting a war with China, you should be able to predict that China is going to become the superpower and US will become a third world. Only way we can survive this from current standpoint is for us to occupy a different country like China and repopulate our population in that country, redistribute our population in areas there really aren't COVID. That's the only way it's going to work, right? Because we have COVID in all 50 states, it's spreading. None of the states are to contain it right now. So we're basically looking at a country which is going to, at this projection, lose anywhere from 1% to 30% of the population would die to COVID at this projection. And I don't think China, Asia, Korea, Japan will allow us to fly there. You know, unless there's any kind of extreme measures like invading a country and occupying that country where COVID doesn't seem to exist and repopulating some of our population and trying to find solutions that way, yeah, you're looking at America becoming a second or third world nation next 2 years, 2 to 3 years. Yeah, I'm going to give you the facts. I'm going to give you the reality. I'm not going to give you all these lies that CNN gives you. Yeah, I'm just going to give you the facts. This is what we're looking at right now. This is the projection we're looking at. As I said, you know, if you give God what he wants, Romans chapter 1, change the laws to fit Romans chapter 1, God may change his mind and just make all this go away. From a spiritual angle, that's the smartest thing to do. You know, so maybe you need to act alone. Alabama, Mississippi, Iowa, maybe you can legalize gay marriage on your own. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, 50 states are all headed there. Eventually, yeah, I mean, I don't think any state has contained it yet. Not a single state out of the 50 has contained COVID yet. So it doesn't look good for America. It doesn't. I'm sorry to give you the sad news, but that's where we are. Doesn't look good. But anyway, you know, God is still king. God is righteous, whatever happens, right? So watch my show from yesterday, which kind of complements this show in some ways. You know, I hope that your family will be well. and then you help your family will survive. So keep watching this show because you need to watch this show. You're getting all these fake news from CNN that's not giving you the truth. It's not giving you reality of what's going on. So you need to watch this show, get a dose of reality, and start preparing for survival as a family, as individuals. And that's why this show is so valuable to you. You need this show every day. Okay, so I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Hope you'll be well, and that your family will be well too.